Nice to see you this morning, and you've heard what Speaker Boehner and also what Eric Cantor have to say. You and Congressman Steny Hoyer just spoke in the last hour demanding that the House take a vote on the bill that passed the Senate. So if both sides, as Kelly just pointed out in her report, really want this so badly and Republicans refuse to bend on it, why not settle this in conference?
Well, Thomas, let's just remember what the both sides are in this case. You have a fight going on between the Republican right and the Republican far right. Those are the two sides that are fighting here because we have a bipartisan bill that passed the Senate. 89 out of 100 senators voted for it. 80% of the Republican senators supported it. You know that Republican senators are calling upon Speaker Boehner and the House Republicans to take up that bipartisan compromise. So the two sides here are not Republicans and Democrats. They're everybody on the one hand who wants to extend the payroll tax cut come January 1st, and the House Republicans that have hijacked Speaker Boehner's speakership, the Tea Party group. That's where the fight is right now. So the president is absolutely right to say that the way to get this done is to take up the bipartisan compromise bill, make sure payroll taxes don't go up on January 1st, and use that time to make sure that we get a year-long payroll tax extension.
Congressman, we just heard,
tax cut extension, excuse me.
From Eric Cantor, though, saying that he doesn't understand why the president isn't getting involved more with this. Why would Eric Cantor want the president to get more involved with this? Does the Congress need micromanagement from the president over this issue?
We don't need micromanagement from the president at all. In fact, Steny Hoyer and I were on the floor of the House this morning looking around. I didn't see Speaker Boehner. I didn't see Eric Cantor. The floor of the House is where we transact business. What happened is they came in, they said the morning prayer, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they gavelled us to a close before Congressman Hoyer and I could offer a proposal to take up the bipartisan Senate bill. We could have this on the president's desk this evening and make sure that 160 million Americans don't face a payroll tax increase come January. We could make sure that those folks who are on unemployment can make sure that they can continue to put food on the table and pay the rent. And we can make sure that doctors who care for Medicare patients will continue to be fully reimbursed. We could do all that today. That's why Congressman Hoyer and I went to the floor of the House, and I know the speaker's in the building somewhere, right, but he wasn't in the place. He was not in the place where we transact the people's business, which is the floor of the House of Representatives.
Congressman, the right is saying that the House has already done this work. They sent something on to the Senate that the Senate then rejected. They returned the upper, that is, what you now have before you, which would really only buy 2 months, as everyone is saying, and they really want 12 months. So what's really rolled up into this bill that people just can't get behind?
Well, Thomas, let's remember that the House Republican leadership originally didn't want any payroll tax cut, whether it was for 2 months, 3 months, or for a year. They then changed their position. We have always wanted a year-long payroll tax cut. We propose to pay for that by asking people who've done very well, people who earn more than $1 million a year, to pay a surcharge on the amount of their income in excess of $1 million. The Republicans said no. They're out there vigorously defending tax breaks for the very wealthy. They're out there defending corporate tax breaks. I wish they would as vigorously protect this tax cut for 160 million Americans, and they can do that by coming together. But my point is that we wanted a year-long extension. They rejected that proposal. Instead, they said we need to pay for it by raising Medicare premiums on seniors. They wanted to cut the amount of unemployment compensation for people who are out of work through no fault of their own. That's why we didn't get the one-year extension. That's why the Senate Republicans, and I want to stress, Senate Republicans blocked the House Republicans' bill from coming up for a vote in the Senate because they knew it was a non-starter. They got together, Republicans and Democrats, to make sure that payroll tax cuts were extended in the new year. That's what they did in the Senate. We didn't even get a vote. We were not even allowed a vote up or down on that Senate compromise bill in the House because the Republican leadership here knew that the result would probably be the same, that we'd actually get a bipartisan bill through the House. They didn't want a bipartisan bill. Again, let's remember, this is now a battle not between Republicans and Democrats. This is between sort of conservative Republicans and far-right Republicans, and the casualty, unfortunately, is going to be the American people, jobs, and the economy.
Congressman Chris Van Hollen, sir, it's nice to have you on this morning. We appreciate your time. We're going to let you get back to work.
Thank you, Thomas.
Absolutely. All right, we want to bring in now Washington Post